In this video, I'm going to talk about something that almost nobody talks about in the relationship space when you're married, and that is body language and the way you are screwing up your marriage with your body language. There are four different ways that men totally miss the mark on this. And when you think about it, 90% of communication is nonverbal. That includes tone, it includes gestures, it includes pitch, and it definitely includes body language. Okay. So if you are someone who doesn't have control of their body, doesn't know what they feel like when they're walking around the house, or if you feel like something's missing and you're saying all the right words, then this might be the missing piece of the puzzle that you need to hear and understand so that you can have a better relationship. And by the way, this isn't just going to improve your marriage, this is going to improve your relationship with all people. We're going to focus on the way that it improves your relationship with your wife, of course, because that's the topic of almost all my videos. But this will have tangential and, kind of secondary and tertiary benefits in terms of other relationships in your life. If you're new here, my name is Dr. John DeBach. I am a couples counselor, a relationship coach, and I've been doing that for about a decade and a half, been on national TV, published books. I have 1 million followers across my socials, built all that in a year's time without a dollar on ads because I'm telling the truth about relationships that is sometimes not so easy to hear, but you know what? Those are the truths that you usually need to hear. So hopefully you're not too weak boned or you're ready to hear this kind of stuff, even if it is a little bit hard to hear. More important than any of those qualifications, though, is I'm a happily married man of 15 years. My wife is a gorgeous dream boat of a wife, and she's wonderful in every way. 15 years, she's a psychologist, incredibly bright, and we have 4 kids together. The reason I bring that up is I walk the walk, I talk the talk. Everything that I talk to you about on this channel, everything that I ever talk to any of my clients about are things that I would tell myself and use myself in my own marriage. There are so many people online and offline who have never been married and telling you how to run your marriage or what women want. It's all theoretical bullshit. Excuse me, but unless you've been in the trenches, you don't know what it's like to deal with someone who's sick while you have 2 or 3 sick kids. You can read about it as much as you want in a book until you live it. It does not translate. Okay, so let's talk about body language. Okay, there are, like I said, 4 different kind of categories of what you're doing or what you could be doing that could really kind of turn your wife off and create a lot of conflict in your marriage. The first one is you broadcasting defeat. So nobody likes to be with a partner who is constantly depressed. I've had the unfortunate reality, I've dealt with thousands of clients in my career at this point, and so naturally some of those people are going to come in and have chronic depression, manic depression, or complex PTSD, which has a lot of depression involved with it. And it's very difficult to stay with somebody, man or woman, who's constantly depressed. Nobody jumps into a relationship like that. At least not any of my clients. Most people they get married, they have a great wedding day, they have maybe a nice honeymoon period of a couple months to a few years, and then something happens. And then or even decades, and then somebody gets depressed. And sometimes those reasons make perfect sense. There's a loss in the family. I've had, couples that have lost a child by very tragic means, and so the depression is understandable, but it's hard. It's hard to be with someone who's depressed and defeated and feels like life isn't worth pursuing. So, what is the body language of defeat? So, it's slumped shoulders, it's avoiding eye contact, it's dragging your feet. There's a listless list there. Even when someone's talking to you, I can talk to you and lean in and really express a lot of engagement and concern and curiosity, or I could just kind of go, okay. If you have any kind of sign of defeat that you're projecting with your body, that's something you need to work on. So if you have depression and you really feel defeat, you should be, first of all, you should call me or someone like me, a therapist, a coach, a counselor, somebody to work through that because you deserve more out of life. Life is full of beautiful things, and if you don't have a way to find that joy, then please see some help. But If it's just a posture issue and you've kind of gotten into some bad habits, roll your shoulders back, right? Lean in and literally open your eyes more and nod more as someone's talking. These aren't defeated positions. We'll talk about the corrective behavior after we go through all three, but those are just some quick tips, or excuse me, all four. By the way, if you like this kind of content and you really want to find out how to enhance your marriage more, do me a favor. Most of you are on your phone. Just swipe up, click the little thumbs up like button, and subscribe. It'll let you know when new videos come out. I have a plan to put them out almost daily. And it really helps the algorithm find other men who need help like this. It costs you nothing, takes a second. Okay, back to number two. So the second way that you are kind of throwing a big monkey wrench in your relationship with body languages is if you leak anxiety. So, anxiety is kind of depression's cousin, right? Depression is the sense of defeated. What's the point, right? Anxiety is the same thing where you see that you're not winning, but instead of being defeated, you worry about it and you don't know how to solve it. And so you're constantly like, oh my God, what are we going to do? There's a lack of acceptance of the defeat, right? But it's still bad news. That's what anxiety is. They are completely related because they're outcomes or existences you don't like. One is an acceptance of it, but a sad acceptance, right? Not the classic, positive acceptance that things like acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT therapy go over, but the bad form of acceptance. And then there's the lack of acceptance, but also there's also a lack of acceptance that you can't do anything about certain things. And so you just kind of worry, right? And what does this look like? It's fidgety, right? I'm kind of acting these out as I talk about them. It's just kind of natural to do. It's fidgety, it's crossed arms, it's hovering, it's pacing around the room, it's hovering in doorways and kind of looking around. Now I'm exaggerating it. I'm doing kind of like the hypochondriac Woody Allen caricature. But if there's a version of this that you're doing where you're just kind of like tapping and or you sit up at night. I remember one time, I've only had anxiety a few times in my life, true anxiety. Thank God I'm blessed. My wife, one of my wife's specialty as a psychologist is anxiety. And so I didn't really have an understanding of what she was going through because she has anxiety from time to time. And a lot of her clients do. And I didn't really empathize with it completely because I never experienced it. And then I did. And I was like, man, this sucks. And there was one night where I had a dream and it made me anxious. And there were some other concerns in our life, mostly financial. It was a lot earlier. And we had 4 kids. And I was like, oh, no, what are we going to do? And I remember sitting up and just doing this. And my wife looked at me and she's like, your anxiety is making me anxious. That's how palpable it can be. I didn't say a word. I didn't look at her. Right when she woke up, she looked at me. She gave me about 30 seconds. She's like, what's going on? Your anxiety is making me anxious. It's that palpable. So if you have that kind of energy in your body language, again, if you have true anxiety, talk to somebody, work with somebody. You could talk to me. I can refer you to my wife if you want to work with somebody really good, right? There's medication for it. But if it's not anxious and you've gotten into bad habits and you just do this and you do this and you're very bouncy and stuff, there's ways where you can start trying to control that. But it starts with you acknowledging and realizing there's a problem. If you don't sit there and you're not honest with yourself about it with any of these things, you're kind of up a creek. Okay, let's talk about number three. Number three is when you are flat, when you are neutral, when you are disengaged. This is kind of a precursor to defeat and depression, right? When you're flat and uninterested, or sometimes it's kind of a graduation, because apathy is like the worst kind of depression, where it's like, whatever, I don't care, right? It's not that you feel like the whole world is against you and what's the point. You just feel like, whatever, all of life is pointless. I'm gonna keep going because I'm not suicidal, but like, man, right? So that flat and neutral thing is like someone's talking to you and there's no interest, there's no leaning in, there's no leaning back. It's just like, That flat posture is very still. It's very stoic. There's no energy in it. And so you might be a stoic guy. I see the flat and neutral thing a lot with servicemen, whether you've been in the military or you've been in, first responder kind of situation, fireman, police officer, bureau investigator. A lot of them have been trained to have a neutral affect because they do investigations or they deal with people who are in serious traumatic incidents and they have to stay flat before they tell them the bad news. Sometimes surgeons can have a flat affect for the same way because they don't want to, they don't want to come out of the surgery going, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Your father is not doing well. They want to come out and say, "Okay, so there's a complication," and they've been trained to be flat. So maybe that's you. Some CEOs and C-suite executives, a lot of my clients are kind of high up in their careers, and they've learned to maintain a neutral affect. It's not so helpful at home. You have to be able to connect with your wife and let her see that side to you. So if you've been trained, or you just naturally have a more flat and neutral way of not gesticulating with your hands, not leaning in, not tipping your hand on what you're thinking, that could be detrimental to your intimate relationship with your wife. Ask yourself honestly, is that me? And the fourth and final one that we need to talk about is crowding. So crowding, if you watched my last video that I released yesterday about outsourcing, one of the things we talked about, not the whole thing, but outsourcing your confidence to your wife. Crowding is what the body language of that looks like. So if you are the kind of person that needs validation and reassurance from your wife, a lot of the times you kind of hover around your wife. You kind of get too close. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you might remember there was an episode where there was a close talker. That's kind of a version of crowding, right? And you might say, well, what's wrong with that? I'm getting close to my wife. There's a difference between getting close as a way to initiate connection and getting close because it's needy. Like you need reassurance. And that isn't closeness, that's pressure. I feel pressured to console you. Meanwhile, I have my own life, and it can be very smothering. And so you have to kind of watch your distance a little bit if this is you. Now, the truth is, you're not going to have all of these. You might not have any of these, but if you're struggling with body language, it's probably in one of these four categories. Okay. So you ask yourself which one sounds the most accurate. Like someone who's anxious isn't going to also be defeated most of the time. Someone who's flat is not going to be crowding or anxious or broadcast defeat. They are unique. They're independent. Now you can shift, right? Sometimes people who are depressed can kind of vacillate between depression and anxiety, and their body language will follow it. But usually there's one predominant one of those four. And ask yourself, which one are you? And then try and fix it. So instead of trying to correct, and this is where we talk about what we should be doing, instead of correcting the behavior that's off, focus on positive body language that is positive across the board. I already told you a couple, so it's leaning in, right? Literally opening your eyes, scrunching up your forehead. That is a sign of curiosity. Turning your head to the left. I mean, when you think about it, when a dog is curious about something, you say, "Hey, boy," and they go, "What's that?" Right? We do it as people. It's just more subtle, right? It's a little bit of a head turn. It's leaning in. It's asking more questions. It's putting your hand to your chin and nodding, right? I do this naturally when I have a client on my couch, right, in person. I lean in with a lot of intent, and I sometimes write notes. And I mean, but that's me really trying to absorb it. I don't think about it naturally. It just naturally comes out. And so sometimes it's also helpful to remember I'm to be curious. I'm supposed to be curious about what she's saying, and naturally the body will follow. Other than that, it's about a certain sense of confidence and a certain sense of presence. And so the one exercise and the one piece of advice I will give you that you can practice this very succinctly yourself is when you walk through the door. So when you walk through the door, assuming you're coming back home from work, take 20 seconds in the car. Take a couple deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Hold it for 3 seconds in between. So, right, center yourself. Roll your shoulders back, right? It's going to feel awkward if you're the normal person, right? But roll them back, stand up straight, and walk in with a little more speed than usual. People who are confident on a mission walk a little faster. If you've ever been on like a charitable march, people tend to walk a little quicker, at least at the start. People get tired, they slow down. But when you walk with purpose, there's a confidence there. So you sure when I swear to God, just try this once. When you go home, roll your shoulders back, walk in with a little more speed and say, "Hey," you'll notice your voice gets louder. "I'm home. How are you?" Right? There's a brightness to it that projects someone that people are magnetic. I do this maybe 70, 80% of the time when I come home. I got to tell you, even with the kids, they're like, "Dad's home." And they run to me because of that energy. Obviously, they love me too, but they run to me because they sense that energy of what's going on, guys. If I were to walk through the door, "Hey, No one's running over to that guy to say, "Hey, how was your day?" with any excitement because they're afraid of what he's going to say. So, those are the two things that you should be practicing. You'll feel more. There's much more you can do, but those when you come home and when you're listening, leaning in, those are the two things I want to part you with. If you found this helpful, please again like and subscribe. If you want to work with me, there's some information down below, whether you want to work one on one or possibly in one of my exclusive kind of private men's groups. There might be some information coming soon if it's not there already. And thanks for watching. I appreciate all of the comments. If you have questions or you have an idea for a video that you want me to go over, by all means, pop it down below.